Welcome back. If you just tuned in, you're watching Let's Talk, and we're dealing with the topic, the Swagger generation. On the panel with me now is the youth leaders of the Truth Outreach International Ministry. Starting from my right all the way over is Pastor Marva, Sister Sharika, Minister Princess, and Deacon Deshawn. Help me welcome them to the show. Welcome to the show. You guys been in VBS all week. You guys must be extremely tired. Yes, we are. So talk to me about VBS. Did it meet your expectation this year?
Yes, it did. It exceeded our expectation on this VBS. The kids were awesome. We had some awesome classes, awesome teachers. And I believe that they left, they will leave tonight with something that they could take further on into their life, as our team of this year was equipped to do it myself. And so we leave them equipped with no excuse so they can function in whatever area they find themselves in. So we meet our expectation.
Yes, it did meet our expectation. Piggybacking off of Pastor Marva. It did. It was awesome. The kids had fun. I enjoyed myself. I became a kid all over again. So I really enjoyed you guys.
What's the name of your team?
Swagger Dagger. It's like when I say swagger, you say dagger. Swagger. Dagger.
You don't get the mic no more. Go ahead.
Yes, this year was very good. I've enjoyed all the different classes. They learned how to change a tire. Deacon Deshawn taught them about cars. They got to learn how to play the drums and the pianos, how to cook. They made purses. They did so many different things. So I really enjoyed the classes this year. I enjoy the classes every year, but I really enjoyed the classes this year.
Yeah, I enjoyed the classes also. We had a lot of young guys come out. Really, a lot of 18 years old. And a lot of the guys that normally don't come, they came out this year and they really had fun. So I think it was a big success this year.
That's awesome. That's great. Talk to me, youth leaders, about some of the challenges you face as youth leaders and dealing with the youth of today. Whoever.
Okay, as youth pastor, one of the challenges that I really face, and I try to work on it as much as I can, is that with the youth, we need more of the parents' cooperation with bringing out the youth and allowing them to know how important it is for them to be a part of youth night and the great thing that we instill in them that will take them throughout their life. And so the parents are not... I would say they're giving them choices. Do you want to go to youth night or not? When I was growing up, I didn't have a choice at the age of, 10, 11, 12, even 18. I didn't have a choice. My mom said you were going, and we went. And so that's one of the things I have, is that the parents are not making sure that these kids have no choice but to be in youth night, knowing that they might not want to come, but it's something that will take them into their future and will allow them to be a better person as a whole.
My challenge would be basically being able to have the support for the youth. That would be the biggest challenge, because the kids want to do so much, and they have this great big imagination and a lot of ideas that they want to do, but it limits us because of the lack of funds. So just the challenge of getting the support, not so much with the church, but with the kids that are coming in that are not a part of the church so much. So it's a challenge with that sometimes, because you don't want to turn a child away when we go on outings. You want everybody to be able to participate, but it's hard when you don't have all the funds for everybody.
Like Sister Sharika said, the funds, but another challenge is this generation is so different from when they were growing up, and I'm not that old, but from when I was growing up. So it's like you have to constantly come up with new ideas and new things because they're so easily influenced. You go into schools and they're teaching them, they're taking out God, and they're teaching them that it's okay to be, you know, homosexual and a lesbian, things like that. So it's always, you have to always be on your P's and Q's with these kids because they're not, you know, coloring books and things now. They're so much smarter. The kids are going on the internet at 7 years old. They know how to, you know, get on Facebook, have their own MySpace page at, you know, 6 and 7. So they're much more advanced than we were when we were kids. So we just have to keep up on not so much trying to do the same thing as the world do, but we have to try to at least keep up on what the world is doing so that we will be successful on winning them over to the Christian side and not losing them to the world.
I think one of my challenges is also the parents, because a lot of times you got a lot of parents are still young themselves, so you got a lot of young kids and young teenagers, so the parents don't want to let go of a certain life, so the kid thinking, you know, should I go the way the church trying to show me, or should I go the way that my parents going? So I think it's kind of like a double-minded thing. You know, they come to church and see one way of living, then they go home and the parents still doing certain things. So I think it got a lot to do with the support of the parents also.
That's an awesome point, Deacon Deshawn, because you're right. If we can teach them the way of the Lord in youth on first and third when you guys meet with them, but if they go home and there's nothing to foster and to further instill what you've taught them in them, then you're right. It just goes by the wayside because now they're confused. They don't know what's really way to go. But talk to me about. We said the parent support. So what do we need to do different to get the parents to get involved with youth and to make sure that their kids are coming out? What can we do different as a ministry?
I think we should have like more family and friend day. Probably like invite the parents out, or just have like a movie night. Something just, you know, to get the parents out the house and let them know that, you know, it's not just all about church, but we're trying to build a relationship, a bond with them.
That's a good point. Anything else from the panel? Anybody want to add to that?
Pretty much, as far as doing different, I mean, we can give them the opportunity to come in, but that's a struggle, not just within the church, but I find from volunteering at the school, that's within the school. I mean, they offer so many after-school programs, so many things to gear the parents and the kids together, and yet they still don't show. So it's a mindset with the parents, because not just at church, but like I say, even with school and being involved with their kids' life, the school give them resources. I mean, they got cooking classes, sewing class, better yourself, education class for the parents, the kids, and yet they still don't show. So it's just a commitment issue.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard nut to crack. I mean, you can't make them come if they don't want to come. And I think Deacon Deshawn said a lot of these parents are young themselves. And so they really haven't been parented themselves. And so they instill in the same way they were brought up onto the kids they're bringing up. Talk to me about, you heard the first part of the show. In the first part of the show, we had some youths on the show. And I began to challenge them and ask them what are some of the issues they face in high school and in the community. And they pretty much summed it up in something I've always heard. I've heard growing up, even as a teenager and as a youth, teenage pregnancy. We heard about drinking and drugs and wanting to be a part of the clique in the school. As youth leaders, Christian saved youth leaders, how do you address those type of issues that are facing our youth today? Teenage pregnancy, not keeping yourself, sex, the topic of sex, drinking, clubbing, all those other stuff that is in high school that is there to influence our youth, and then they got to come into your youth session. So how do you deal with that?
I want to answer this one.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is what I believe. I think even from going back, from the old times in church, they kind of didn't really speak about certain things. They just kind of hush-hushed about it. But as these kids are this generation is growing, it's like we can't be quiet anymore, because you're seeing the kids in the church getting pregnant. You're seeing the kids in the church, contracting STDs. You're seeing the kids in the church taking drugs. You're seeing the kids in the church drinking and all these kind of things. But then when they get, we have them in church, but then when they get 18, they're gone. They're doing their own thing. So we have to, like I said, stay on the same level as the school system, because the school system is teaching them sex education. So us being Christians, it's in the Bible, it's in the Word. Why can't we teach them sex education pertaining to godly sexual education? Not, passing out, contraceptives or anything, but we have to address these issues, because 12, 13, 14-year-olds, they're getting their hormones. We have to teach them that it's okay for you to have hormones. You're going to have them. This is what's going to happen. You're going to feel this way. You're going to get these feelings, A, B, C, and D. Then we teach them what to do when this happens, because we don't talk about it. And then when they start getting these hormones and stuff, then they're going off behind our backs, doing stuff. They come up pregnant and we're looking like, oh my gosh, how that happened? But I believe we have to educate them and teach them, how to date as young Christians, how to interact with the opposite sex as 14, 15, 16 years old, because the world is teaching them that. In school, they're teaching them these things, Every year, I believe, when you're in high school, they teach you sex education. They're teaching about STDs. They're teaching them about the male and female body parts. And nowadays, I know it's even more in-depth than it was before. So it's not really abstinence is a way anymore. A lot of schools are doing out with abstinence is a way. They're more prone to contraceptive and condoms and things like that. So I believe that we have to really get down to the nitty-gritty and get in these kids' face and teach them about these things, because whether we like it or not, they're doing it. So why not talk about it? We might as well teach them the godly way, so that way they will know when they're faced with these things at school, they can say, okay, you're teaching me this, but I know this because they taught me this. I know abstinence is the way, not using, birth control, not using contraceptives because my church has taught me that.
Yeah, and and I'll let you guys address that question too, but I just want to get a thought in here as you were talking. Even if the church, because see, I see an inherent problem, even if the church instills and educates these young people, but if they go home to a home environment that does not foster what you just taught them. So in other words, if I go home, I hear the preaching, I come to children's church, I hear the youth. And I hear that. And then I go home, but my home environment is literally contradicting everything I just learned. So we have a youth in a warp zone. They're warped now because they really don't know right from wrong. Because if mama does it, then that gives me legal right to do it. Even though we tell them, do what I say and not what I do. We all know that our youth are going to follow and do exactly what we do. So just to piggyback on what you said, though, how we begin to address it, because I believe we did a serious Family Matters, and it starts in the home. We gotta get the home right. And if we get the home right, then we get our young people right. In other words, get the parents right, and we get our young people right. So we'll work that some more. How do we get the home right?
I wanted to talk about that, when Minister Princess was talking. That's one of the things that we have in the youth department, is that, as Pastor Major was saying, is that you teach them, you pour out, you do everything that you know how, but it bleeds your heart, because then you have to send them back home to that mom who's really not a mother, but try to be a friend and give them exactly what they need, or they go back to a home that the parents is abusive verbally, to them, calling them names or telling them, okay, you're of this age now, so you're responsible for yourself. They're not being the parent. And I think that's the problem. The parents are not being the parent. So what we need to do, I believe, is to get to the parent, because the parent can change the home. And so if we have more things for the parent, or try to, not say more things, because we had invite the parents to come, and they, as Sister Sharika said, they didn't show up. And so you have this child who's torn because they want to do the right thing, but when they get home, the home is not conducive for them to do the right thing, because they have to eat, they want to get their nails done, they want to get their hair done, their toes done. And so who's going to do it? Mom is not providing for them. And so they have a little boyfriend on the side saying, if you do this, I'll give you that. And now they don't want to go to school looking like they don't have their hair done or their nails done. And so what happened? Trying to fit in, they're going to do whatever it takes to fit in when they get to school. And so they're the problem, because then they don't have anyone to direct them from the home. They're looking for mothers and fathers. most of these young people look for mothers and fathers, and most of the homes don't have a father, or you have a home that don't have a mother, and so they're torn when they get here. So you can teach them about sex, yes, abstinence is a way, but when it comes down to the real thing, they have to make a decision for themselves. Where do I want to go from here? Because I've been taught, I know right from. Most of these kids don't tell you, I knew wasn't supposed to do it. However, I did anyhow because such and such. So we could teach them as much as we want, but it goes back to the parents instilling in them that they are the parent and you are the child. I'm responsible for you as a parent, and that will take care of a lot of problems that we have.
I think it got a lot to do with also a vision. The parents don't got a vision for the kids nowadays, because if you ask a young kid what they want to be nowadays, most of them say a ball player or a rapper. So I think it got a lot to do with the vision also in the household, you know, because a lot of kids nowadays, you ask them what they want to do, they really can't tell you. So a lot of time, I think one of the main things, I think we really need more mentors, mans and women, because a lot of time I like to take a lot of young guys out, you know, just even like cook out, take them out to a game, and just try to build a bond with them, and try to help them, you know, to get a vision for the future. So I think if we can work on trying to help them get a vision in the household, it'll help out a lot also.
And I agree with Deacon Deshaun. I was sitting here and I was thinking back from school that they said the first teacher is the mom, is at home, not at school. And secondly, with all that being said, when you experience some of the same things that they go to, you can identify a lot of the places that are hurt. And I go back to what brought me to Christ, and it was the love that a pastor wife showed me. And from her love made me want to seek who she was seeking after. And I was in the environment where my mom was busy being, she raised me the best way that she knew how. And you can only do what you know how to do. You know, so she raised me the best way that she knew how when I needed more. And when I found what I was looking for, and it was through the love that she showed me that brought me to Christ. And that's what he said, like mentors. I think that's the passion of just having more mentors, having more people that get involved, and stay connected, and be willing to tough it out. When the kids don't do what you say, can you still stand and say, I love you enough not to let you go? So that is a very important thing about being committed and having mentors, and then understanding that they're only doing what they know how to do. And yes, we know what's right, but maybe they don't because they haven't been taught right, and the mother can't teach them what they don't know.
That's true. That's true. And so I think that's what you're saying, and Minister Princess, is that's where now the church comes in, and we step in and we educate the children, because I believe the church is the best place, you're right, to talk about sex education. It is the best place to talk about abstinence, and that, you know what, I'm sorry, on the first segment, and when we were talking with the young people, there's a stigma that it's uncool to be a virgin. It's uncool, to be a virgin, and that's wrong. It is not cool to be a teenager and pregnant. And so I think it is the job of the church to address these taboo issues, or these issues that the church don't normally deal with in church. And it's not a place of beating them down. It's saying, you know what, you can wait. You can wait until you're married. You can wait. You can, you don't have to go out there and drink. You don't have to be a part of the next big clique to be popular. But you can set a trend all by yourself and be that oddball. One thing I learned, Mama Nellie, when I was in Boston, she was the church I went to in Boston, way down in Dorchester, Massachusetts. Mama Nellie said that one thing about geeks is that they always will have money in their pockets. In other words, her point was simply this. It's the geeks that pay attention in school. It's the geeks that eventually go off and go to college and graduate. And I don't know about you, but I want to be a geek. You want